Are you tired of pretending to be perfect? Do you find yourself constantly battling insecurities because you feel like you're not good enough? What if I told you that true confidence doesn't come from being flawless, but from embracing your flaws? In this video, we'll explore how Carl Jung's powerful ideas about self-acceptance and integrating your weaknesses can unlock unshakable confidence. A confidence that isn't dependent on approval, perfection, or fear of rejection. Forget the endless chase for an ideal version of yourself. This video will reveal how facing and integrating the parts of you that you hide or deny can actually lead to the strength and self-assurance you've been searching for. You'll learn why vulnerability, rather than being a weakness, can become your greatest source of power. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to build a deep, authentic confidence that's immune to criticism and failure. Ready to stop hiding and start owning your true self. Let's dive in. We've all been there, haven't we? Trying so hard to fit into a mold, to be something that society has told us we should be, constantly battling the pressure to be perfect. You see it everywhere, from social media influencers with curated lives to the constant bombardment of ads selling you perfection. But here's the thing, perfection is a myth. It's a lie that keeps you trapped in a never-ending cycle of self-doubt and frustration. The truth is, it's only when you stop trying to be perfect that you can start to discover real confidence. Carl Jung had a name for this. He called it the persona. That mask we wear to make ourselves acceptable to the world. It's the version of ourselves we think others want to see, rather than who we truly are. And when we're too attached to this persona, we start to feel disconnected from our true selves. It's like wearing a mask for so long that you forget what your face looks like underneath. The quest for perfection leads us to build these false versions of ourselves, and with every effort to keep that mask intact, we lose a little more of our authenticity. What's the price of this? Anxiety, stress, and self-criticism. The perfectionist doesn't just chase success, they chase an impossible ideal, thinking that once they reach it, they'll finally feel enough. But that feeling never comes. It's like running on a treadmill. You're putting in the effort, but you're not really going anywhere. And the more you chase perfection, the less you feel satisfied. In fact, the more perfect you try to become, the more imperfect you feel inside. Jung recognized this inner conflict. The pressure to maintain a flawless persona causes a deep rift between how we want to be seen and who we really are. Over time, this disconnect breeds internal chaos. You start questioning your worth, not because you aren't good enough, but because you're living a lie. And when the world sees only the perfect version of you, they can't connect with the real you. They never get to see the beauty of your flaws, which are often where your true strength lies. This is where the damage happens. Society's obsession with perfection not only distorts our self-image, but also hinders our ability to connect with others. If we're too busy pretending to be perfect, we're too busy to be authentic. And the longer we cling to this false image, the more we risk losing sight of the very qualities that make us unique and valuable. So, ask yourself, how much of your energy is spent upholding an illusion that doesn't even represent who you are? What would happen if you stopped chasing the impossible and embraced who you are, flaws and all? The answer lies in facing the parts of yourself you've been hiding. Your shadow, your weaknesses, the parts of you that have been shoved into the dark corners of your mind. The next step is understanding why embracing those parts, rather than fighting them, is the key to unlocking true confidence. But let's go deeper into that in the next section. Have you ever wondered why certain parts of you just don't seem to fit in? Maybe you've dismissed them as flaws or weaknesses and pushed them deep down, hoping they'd just disappear. The truth is, these parts of you, the ones you avoid, hide, or deny, are your shadow, as Carl Jung would call it. Your shadow isn't just a metaphor, it's a powerful psychological force, the sum of everything you suppress or reject. And what if I told you that embracing it is the secret to becoming truly confident? Think about it. The parts of you that you've been running from are the same parts that hold the key to your power. When we push our shadow aside, we disconnect from parts of ourselves that could make us whole. But when we start to accept and integrate these hidden parts, we unlock a deeper, more authentic confidence. It's like trying to run a race with one leg tied up. The more you avoid your shadow, the less you can fully run your race. The more you integrate it, the faster, more powerful you become. This is where the real transformation begins. Rather than viewing your flaws as burdens, try to see them as gateways to growth. Jung said that the shadow doesn't just represent our darker, less acceptable qualities. It also contains the untapped potential for greatness. When you stop denying it, you stop denying a part of yourself that's desperate to be recognized and accepted. And that recognition? It leads to real, lasting self-acceptance. For example, let's say you've always struggled with jealousy. Most would say it's a negative trait to have, so you might hide it from others. But the more you suppress it, the more it festers inside you, leading to resentment or insecurity. Instead of rejecting this feeling, try examining it. Why does it arise? What is it revealing about your desires or needs? When you approach jealousy with curiosity, rather than shame, you begin to accept it as part of your whole self. And in that acceptance, you'll find a strength you didn't know existed. But this process isn't easy. It's uncomfortable to look at the parts of ourselves we've spent years avoiding. In fact, it's downright scary. But what if you embraced that discomfort? What if you leaned into it, knowing that this is where your true growth lies? The shadow has the potential to bring out the best in you if you're willing to face it. It doesn't mean you'll suddenly love every part of yourself, but you'll begin to accept those parts, which is the first step toward real, unbreakable confidence. So let me ask you, how long will you continue running from the shadow? How long will you let your flaws define you, instead of owning them and using them to create the life you want? The power of the shadow is waiting for you to claim it, and in doing so, you'll find a confidence that's rooted in your authentic self. And when you do, you'll begin to see how embracing your flaws can lead you to a deeper understanding of who you truly are. What if I told you that your confidence doesn't come from eliminating your flaws? That the very idea of perfecting yourself is a trap designed to keep you from becoming the person you were meant to be. The truth is, confidence is not about denying your weaknesses, it's about integrating them. Carl Jung believed that the key to true confidence lies not in eradicating parts of ourselves, but in accepting and incorporating them into who we are. So why do we keep running from our flaws instead of making peace with them? Think about it. When was the last time you tried to pretend you were someone you're not? How much energy did it take to hide parts of yourself you thought were wrong? The problem with this approach is that it creates an internal conflict, a war between the perfect persona you show the world and the real, flawed you underneath. It's exhausting, and the more you deny your true self, the more your confidence crumbles. True confidence doesn't come from pretending. It comes from being whole, accepting both your strengths and your weaknesses. Jung's idea of wholeness was simple. To become a complete person, you must embrace every part of yourself. That means welcoming your flaws, your quirks, and the things you try to hide. This doesn't mean you should glorify your weaknesses or let them define you. Rather, it's about acknowledging them, learning from them, and integrating them into your self-image. The moment you stop seeing yourself as a puzzle to fix, you begin to see yourself as a masterpiece in the making. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. The world is constantly pushing the idea of better and flawless. We are told that confidence comes from being perfect, that only the strong, the invincible, deserve success and respect. But when we try to conform to this ideal, we cut ourselves off from our true potential. Confidence is not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming you. The more you try to erase your flaws, the further you get from your authentic self. So why is it that we cling so desperately to this illusion of perfection? Maybe it's fear. Fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of being vulnerable. But here's the paradox. The more you try to control how others see you, the less control you actually have over your own life. By integrating your flaws, you give yourself permission to be human. And in that freedom, you'll find the confidence you've been searching for all along. The path to real confidence isn't about fixing yourself, it's about embracing yourself. It's about seeing your flaws not as weaknesses to be hidden, but as powerful tools to shape your identity. When you integrate your flaws, you align your inner world with your outer actions. And that alignment, that's where true, unshakable confidence comes from. So ask yourself, are you ready to stop fighting your flaws and start integrating them into the person you're meant to be? What if I told you that the very thing you fear most could be the key to unlocking unbreakable confidence? Vulnerability. The idea of being vulnerable feels like an invitation for others to see your weaknesses, doesn't it? We've been taught to hide our flaws, shield our insecurities, and put up walls to protect ourselves. But what if the act of letting down your guard could actually make you stronger than ever before? Carl Jung believed that true strength comes not from concealing your flaws, but from accepting them and embracing vulnerability. Why do we view vulnerability as a weakness? Is it because we fear judgment, or because society tells us that only the strong, the perfect, and the unflinching deserve respect? Think about how often we hide behind masks, pretending to be someone we're not just to avoid the discomfort of showing who we truly are. But here's the twist. By embracing vulnerability, we're not admitting weakness, we're admitting humanity. And in that admission lies an incredible power. The power to be real, to be authentic, and to connect with others in a way that shields cannot. Jung spoke about the importance of accepting imperfection, of understanding that to be whole, we must integrate all aspects of ourselves, strengths and flaws alike. Vulnerability is an essential part of this process. It's not about exposing yourself to harm or living recklessly, but about being honest with yourself and others. It's about showing the world that you're not afraid to be imperfect, and in doing so, you take the power away from the very things you once feared. Vulnerability becomes a tool for building trust, not only in others, but in yourself. Let's get real for a moment. How often have you held back, afraid that showing your true self would lead to rejection? In our quest for approval, we've convinced ourselves that only the strong get ahead. But the strongest people are often those who've learned to embrace their vulnerability. Take a moment to think about someone you admire. Chances are, their confidence isn't rooted in an illusion of perfection. It's their willingness to be open, to show their flaws, that makes them magnetic. They're not afraid to stand in their truth, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. And yet, we still resist vulnerability, clinging to the illusion of invulnerability. But here's the truth. Hiding our flaws doesn't protect us. It isolates us. When we refuse to show our vulnerabilities, we disconnect from the very people who could offer us support, understanding, and connection. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It is the foundation of all meaningful relationships and the gateway to profound self-acceptance. Jung knew this. He understood that by embracing the parts of ourselves we most want to hide, we become whole. So, the next time you're faced with a moment of vulnerability, don't shy away. Embrace it. Ask yourself, what would happen if you allowed yourself to be seen, flaws and all? Instead of seeing vulnerability as something to fear, see it as a doorway to confidence. When you can accept your imperfections, you'll realize that the only thing holding you back was the fear of showing your true self. Vulnerability is strength. It is the courage to be imperfect, to show up as you truly are. And in that courage lies the power to build unbreakable confidence. Have you ever hesitated to take a step forward because you were terrified of what others might think? The fear of rejection is a powerful force that shapes our lives more than we'd like to admit. It can prevent us from speaking our truth, chasing our dreams, and, worst of all, it keeps us stuck in a cycle of self-doubt. Carl Jung understood this deep fear as a collective unconscious experience, one that is not just personal, but shaped by the norms and expectations of society. But here's the catch. The more we fear rejection, the less confidence we have in who we truly are. The fear of rejection often comes down to one question. Am I enough? Society conditions us to seek validation from others, whether it's through likes, praise, or acceptance. But what if the very need for external approval is what erodes our sense of self-worth? Jung believed that this constant quest for approval reflects the conflict between our persona, the mask we wear for the world, and our true self. The more we identify with the persona, the more disconnected we become from our authentic identity. Rejection, then, becomes a reflection of our inner conflict, a rejection of our true self, rather than the superficial mask we put on. Why do we let rejection affect us so deeply? Is it because we've been taught to equate our value with how others perceive us? Think about it. How many times have you compromised your true desires, your values, or your very essence just to avoid being rejected by others? The fear of rejection isn't just a minor annoyance. It's a silent destroyer of confidence. It paralyzes you from taking risks, from being who you really are, and most importantly, it keeps you trapped in a cycle of self-doubt. But what if the only thing standing between you and true confidence is letting go of the need for approval? Jung's work on the collective unconscious helps us understand that this fear of rejection isn't just personal. It's part of the social fabric we're all woven into. Our fears are often shaped by the expectations and norms of society, which tell us that certain traits are more acceptable than others. This is where the real problem lies. We suppress the parts of ourselves that we think society won't approve of, and in doing so, we create an internal conflict. To build unbreakable confidence, you need to confront this fear, acknowledge that rejection doesn't define your worth, and begin to question the societal expectations that have been programmed into you. But how do we break free from this fear? The answer is simpler than we might think, by embracing rejection as a natural part of life. Rejection isn't a reflection of your value or your abilities. It's a signal that you're stepping outside the box, pushing boundaries, and challenging the status quo. In fact, the more you expose yourself to rejection, the less power it has over you. Each time you face rejection and keep going, you reinforce your own resilience. You begin to see that rejection is not an enemy, but a necessary part of growth. Jung's teachings remind us that true confidence comes from an integration of all parts of the self, including the parts that society tells us to hide. When we stop fearing rejection, we stop pretending to be something we're not. Confidence isn't about avoiding rejection. It's about owning who you are, flaws and all, and standing firm in that truth. So the next time you face rejection, don't shrink. Embrace it, learn from it, and let it propel you to greater heights. The fear of rejection is a wall between you and unshakable confidence. Tear it down brick by brick. What if everything you've been striving for, every effort to be perfect, to meet unrealistic standards, is actually pulling you further away from who you really are? Perfectionism, in its cruelest form, deceives us into thinking that we need to be flawless in order to be valuable. But the irony is that in our pursuit of perfection, we lose sight of our authentic self. This false identity we create is fragile, built on an illusion that we must meet external expectations to be accepted. But what if it's time to shatter that illusion? Carl Jung believed that perfectionism was an expression of the persona, the mask we wear to meet societal demands. It's a facade, an idealized version of who we think we should be. The persona is not real, it's a construct. But here's the dark truth. The more we invest in this mask, the more we distance ourselves from our true nature. We become trapped in an endless cycle of trying to meet expectations that were never ours to begin with. We're so busy trying to perfect the mask that we forget what lies beneath it. The real question is, who are you when you stop pretending? What does your true identity look like when it's not shaped by the pressure of perfection? Jung argued that our real self can only emerge when we let go of the need to perform for others. It's in the messy, imperfect parts of ourselves that we find our most authentic strengths. Perfectionism strips us of this authenticity and forces us to live a life that's not truly ours. This disconnect is the root cause of deep internal conflict and the destruction of true confidence. You've probably felt the weight of perfectionism on your shoulders, the constant pressure to achieve more, be more, and never show weakness. But where has it gotten you? Has being perfect ever brought you lasting peace? The answer is no. Perfectionism is an unquenchable thirst that can never be satisfied. The more you chase it, the further you move from the only thing that can bring true fulfillment, self-acceptance. Perfectionism may earn you praise, but it will never earn you peace. It's a thief that steals your true self. But here's the twist. Embracing your flaws is the key to unlocking your true identity. The moment you stop trying to be perfect is the moment you start to discover who you really are. And it's through this discovery that true confidence is born. Confidence isn't about polishing a perfect image for the world to see. It's about standing firm in your imperfections, embracing them, and letting them become the foundation of your identity. Only then can you experience the freedom of authenticity. Jung's work shows us that perfectionism isn't just a personal issue, it's a societal one. We live in a world that demands perfection, but perfection is a lie. The truth is that the more you embrace your flaws, the closer you get to your real self. Perfectionism creates a false self, one that is always seeking validation from outside sources. Authentic confidence, on the other hand, is rooted in the acceptance of who you are, flaws and all. So the next time you catch yourself striving for perfection, ask yourself, what am I really hiding from? The answer might just be the key to unlocking the confidence you've been seeking all along. What if the key to unlocking the unshakable confidence you've always wanted lies in the very things you've been trying to avoid? We spend our lives running from parts of ourselves that we deem flawed. But what if those flaws are the doorway to your true strength? Carl Jung's shadow work offers a profound answer. It's only by embracing the parts of ourselves we fear the most that we can build an unbreakable foundation of confidence. But let me ask you this. How many of your deepest insecurities have you really confronted, or have you been burying them under layers of denial? The shadow, as Jung described, is not just a collection of bad traits. It's everything that we reject about ourselves. It's the darker, hidden aspects that society tells us to suppress. And yet, these aspects aren't inherently evil. They're simply parts of us that we've learned to hide out of shame or fear. So, what happens when we choose to confront our shadow instead of running from it? By integrating our shadow, we stop fighting against ourselves. We cease the internal war, which is the very root of insecurity. You can only be confident when you no longer fear what lies beneath the surface. Consider this. Every time you reject a flaw, a fear, or a weakness, you feed the illusion that something is wrong with you. The truth is, the more you hide from your imperfections, the more power you give them. The shadow thrives in secrecy, growing stronger with every attempt to deny it. But by bringing these hidden aspects into the light, by accepting them as a part of you, their grip on your psyche weakens. And this isn't a one-time fix. It's a continual process of self-awareness, acceptance, and integration. Imagine the power in not needing to hide anymore. But what does shadow work actually look like in practice? It's confronting those uncomfortable thoughts, those parts of yourself you've long avoided. It's the deep introspection that asks, what am I afraid of? What part of me am I ashamed of? Most people run from these questions, but true self-acceptance can only begin when you stand face to face with what you fear most about yourself. Jung believed that by acknowledging and accepting the shadow, we bring about wholeness. And in that wholeness, confidence is born, not from the denial of flaws, but from the integration of them into your identity. This isn't just a philosophical concept, it's a transformative practice. If you want real confidence, you must face your demons head-on. And here's the paradox. The more you embrace your shadow, the less power it has over you. The things you once feared will no longer hold you back. Instead of seeing your flaws as weaknesses, you'll start seeing them as parts of your unique power. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being whole. You stop striving for an impossible ideal and start embracing the human experience, with all its complexities and contradictions. So, are you ready to confront your shadow? Are you prepared to face the parts of yourself that you've tried so hard to hide? True confidence doesn't come from polishing the surface. It comes from doing the hard work of accepting and integrating every part of you, even the uncomfortable parts. The journey isn't easy, but it's the only path that leads to real, unbreakable confidence. Stop running. The time to embrace your shadow is now. And when you do, you'll discover a wellspring of strength and authenticity that you never thought possible. Have you ever noticed how quickly you can become defensive when someone points out your flaws? Why is it so hard to simply acknowledge when we're wrong or imperfect? The truth is, defensiveness is a shield we construct to protect ourselves from the shame of being less than perfect. But here's the real question. Does that shield actually protect us, or does it keep us stuck in a cycle of insecurity? Carl Jung believed that defensiveness stems from an inability to accept ourselves as we truly are. And until we learn to drop that shield, true confidence will always remain out of reach. Defensiveness doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's a defense mechanism, deeply rooted in our fear of rejection and judgment. Think about it. When we get defensive, we're trying to control how others perceive us. But what if, instead of deflecting criticism, we embraced it as a mirror reflecting the areas where we need growth? Jung's concept of the persona is key here. This false image we project to the world is designed to avoid vulnerability. But by clinging to this constructed version of ourselves, we miss the chance to unlock true self-empowerment. Now, imagine the possibility. What if you didn't need to be perfect to feel strong? What if accepting your flaws wasn't a sign of weakness, but of inner strength? Jung believed that the key to empowerment lies in embracing imperfection. This doesn't mean resigning yourself to mediocrity. It means understanding that your flaws are part of your wholeness. The more you accept your imperfections, the less power they have over you. And paradoxically, the more you embrace your vulnerability, the more you'll tap into an unshakable confidence that cannot be easily shaken by external criticism. There's a profound shift that occurs when we stop defending ourselves and start empowering ourselves. Think of it like stepping out of the constant struggle to prove our worth. The moment we let go of the need to be flawless, we free ourselves from the prison of judgment and self-criticism. This is not about resigning to a flawed identity. It's about embracing the complexity of who we are, both light and dark. The energy you once spent on defending your image can now be redirected to creating a life aligned with your authentic self. But here's the catch. Defensiveness often feels protective. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that defending your ego keeps you safe. However, the truth is that defensiveness only perpetuates insecurity. The moment you let go of the need to be constantly right or perfect, you release the hold that shame and fear have over you. You begin to stand tall, not because you're free of flaws, but because you've accepted them as part of your story. And in that acceptance lies the power to rise above external judgment. So the question is, are you ready to let go of your defensiveness and step into a place of empowerment? True confidence doesn't come from hiding your flaws or pretending to be perfect. It comes from the courage to face them head-on. The next time you feel that defensive urge, pause. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of? And then let go. Because only when we stop defending who we're not, can we start living as the person we truly are. Why is it that we're often our harshest critics? Have you ever stopped to wonder how much of your inner dialogue is filled with judgment and self-reproach? We are conditioned to believe that if we want to improve, we must first punish ourselves, drive ourselves to the edge, and demand perfection. But what if that very approach is the reason confidence feels so elusive? Carl Jung understood something profound. That true self-compassion is not about excusing our flaws. It's about recognizing our worth in spite of them. What if the key to unshakable confidence lies not in fixing every flaw, but in embracing them with kindness? Self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook for every mistake. It's about creating a space where growth can occur without the weight of self-loathing. Imagine for a moment, what if, instead of berating yourself for being imperfect, you allowed yourself to be human? Jung's work on the self teaches us that we are not broken because of our flaws, but whole in our ability to integrate them. The question becomes, can we truly accept ourselves without judgment, or do we continue to measure our worth by unattainable standards? The impact of self-compassion on confidence is profound, yet so often overlooked. When we are compassionate toward ourselves, we don't just heal, we empower. Think about it, if you're always criticizing yourself, how can you ever feel good about who you are? The inner critic creates a vicious cycle of doubt, leading to insecurity. But the compassionate voice, the one that acknowledges your efforts and growth, cultivates a deep-seated sense of worthiness. This isn't a soft, indulgent practice, it's a radical act of courage. It's a refusal to let shame control your life. What makes this so powerful is that self-compassion doesn't allow flaws to define us. It allows us to see our flaws as part of the journey. Carl Jung believed in the integration of both the light and dark sides of our psyche. The shadow is not to be rejected but embraced. So, how could self-compassion work as a tool for shadow work? By being compassionate, you allow yourself the grace to look at the parts of you that hurt, that make you vulnerable, and instead of running from them, you meet them with understanding. In doing so, you transform what was once a source of shame into a source of power. But let's be honest, being kind to yourself feels almost unnatural, doesn't it? We're taught to push through, to get back up, to suck it up. Yet, this often leads to burnout and a fragile self-worth. So here's a radical thought. What if you allowed yourself to be imperfect and, instead of criticizing, you showed yourself the same kindness you would show a friend? How would that change the way you move through life? The courage to practice self-compassion is not only about fostering a deeper love for oneself, but it's about fortifying the foundation of your confidence. In the end, the choice is yours. Will you continue to let self-criticism dictate your worth, or will you choose to embrace yourself, flaws and all, with compassion? The power of self-compassion is immense, and yet it's often the one thing we resist the most. But think about it. When you stop punishing yourself for being imperfect, you're free to embrace your flaws, integrate them, and rise with a confidence that comes from a place of self-love, not self-doubt. Imagine what would happen if you stopped pretending to be perfect. What if, instead of hiding your flaws, you wore them as badges of honor? True confidence doesn't come from constructing an image of flawless perfection. It emerges from embracing the full spectrum of who you are, the beautiful and the messy, the strong and the weak. Carl Jung understood that when we fully accept our imperfections, we unlock a power unlike any other. So why do we keep running from it? Is it fear, or is it the world's pressure to be something we're not? The process of building authentic confidence isn't easy, it's uncomfortable. But what if the discomfort is the very thing you need to grow? How many times have you sacrificed your true self to fit a mold or meet an expectation? What Jung reveals is that this sacrifice, this attempt to mask our flaws with a perfect persona, only traps us in a cage of insecurity. Confidence, in its truest form, is the freedom to be unapologetically yourself, no matter what society says about it. What if the key to that freedom is found in the acceptance of your shadow, your flaws, and the parts of you that you've kept hidden for so long? We're often taught that confidence is a result of outward achievement or status. But what if those are just distractions? Real confidence doesn't depend on validation from others. It's the result of an inner shift, the realization that you are worthy because of your flaws, not in spite of them. Jung's idea of wholeness comes from the integration of both our light and dark sides, not the rejection of them. So have you been chasing an illusion, thinking that if you just fix your flaws, you'll finally feel confident? What if the journey isn't about fixing, but about embracing who you already are? The freedom of authentic confidence doesn't just impact how you see yourself, it transforms how you relate to the world. When you stop fearing judgment and rejection, you start living in a way that's true to you. The irony is, the more you accept yourself, flaws and all, the less you'll care about the opinions of others. You'll be free from the constant need for external approval, and that's where true power lies. The question is, are you willing to face the discomfort of embracing your flaws in exchange for that freedom? True strength doesn't come from hiding. It comes from integrating the pieces of yourself that you've been taught to suppress. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But when you do, you discover an inner well of confidence that is unshakable. You stop relying on external validation and start living from a place of deep self-assurance." Are you ready to step into that power? Are you ready to let go of the illusion of perfection and accept the messy, beautiful truth of who you are? In the end, authentic confidence is about accepting your flaws, integrating them, and realizing that they are what make you whole. So, stop striving for an ideal that doesn't exist. Instead, embark on the journey of self-acceptance. Because when you accept yourself fully, you'll finally unlock the unbreakable confidence you've been searching for all along. Will you take that first step? If you're ready to stop hiding behind the mask of perfection and start embracing your true self, now is the time to act. Don't wait for the perfect moment. There is no such thing. The journey of self-acceptance begins with a single step, and it starts right here, right now. If this message resonated with you, then hit that subscribe button. Join this community of individuals who are ready to break free from societal expectations and embrace their true, unbreakable confidence. This is just the beginning. Together, we can build a new mindset, one where you accept yourself fully, flaws and all, and unlock the power that lies within. Comment below and share one flaw you've been hiding from the world, and let's start a conversation. You're not alone in this. It's time to break free. Let's do it together. Don't forget to like and share if you know someone who needs to hear this message. And remember, the path to true confidence starts with embracing your imperfections. Stay tuned for more insights, and I'll see you in the next video.